is.
But you know what, Helen, I think a lot of people in our industry, especially now, these last couple of years have been, super tough. I think a lot of people do like to talk a lot about the problems that are going on. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. We've got that, community banter, but it can't just be left to, a handful of people to be doing the advocacy for the industry, because I often have people say to me, but what do I get? What do I get for being a member of the association? What do I get?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, if we actually had the time to document the amount of work that we do. Meryl and I worked a 12-hour shift last Wednesday. We had back-to-back meetings from 9 o'clock in the morning until we finished our board meeting at 9 o'clock at night. We don't have time to do a reel to really go through and show exactly what we're doing. But in terms of your value exchange is that you're having people connect your industry and safeguard the future of your businesses.
Yeah.
In this current world and economy.
Yeah.
There's not very many people going out there doing this kind of work.
Welcome to It's So Much More Than Hair, and I am super, super excited to have Marcela Lastra with me. Marcela and I have got a little bit of a history together. We went on some philanthropic projects, or a philanthropic, whatever that is, project together.
Philanthropic, it's a big word.
Thank you. Which is how we met, and it's been a pleasure to know her. So I think that you are going to get so much enjoyment out of listening to what Marcela is up to in this industry. So I'm going to hand it over to you because there's so much that you could share with us. How are you?
Helen, I just am still in awe of your blow waving skills. Remember back to Hair Expo many moons ago with Helen giving me the ultimate blow wave I've ever had in my life. So thanks for
God.
that lasted me for weeks.
Hilarious.
I didn't have to wash my hair forever.
I think I've still got muscles.
Thanks so much for having me on. I feel very privileged and honoured to be speaking to you today.
And likewise.
Thank you. Thanks. I guess to introduce myself a little bit, I've been hairdressing since I was 14 years old, so I don't want to do the maths, but it's been a while, 29 years. I'm still on the salon floor. This year I found myself going back to the salon floor more hours than I normally have in the past, which has been really cool because I've been able to reconnect with salon environment, staff and clientele, which has been awesome.
You love that though. You actually do love the salon.
Yeah, I've been doing so many of my clients' hair for so many years, and they've followed me in the entirety of my hairdressing career, and so for a lot of them, I feel very responsible to see them through their hair journey. I feel like I want to see them out. I've lost a couple of clients in the last year or so. And so it's made me want to connect to the ones that I've got left even more.
Yeah. And just to sort of fill you in, Marcela is a classic example of starting a salon, a very small salon, and then it just growing into something bigger and always successful, but even more successessful.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Or
yeah, sure.
Yeah. I know we're going. Yeah.
I've always worked in really cool salons, but then after I had my kids, the space where I worked in, it really needed me to be present more hours than I guess I could do. So my husband had the bright idea of me starting a salon from home, and to me that was like a massive demotion because I'd been working in these elite, city salons where, there I was doing the premier's haircut and, working with, QCs and high court judges, and then all of a sudden I'm, at home in the shed. So that was pretty, difficult for me. But fast forward 16 years later, I own the building where the salon operates out of. So invested into commercial real estate, which was cool.
Yeah.
And now I've got a salon team of 9. And this year we've once again finalled for the AHIAs for State Salon Team of the Year for South Australia. So this is the third year in a row that we've finalled for that award. So,
congratulations and fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
But Marcela is a beautiful boss. She's got a beautiful team.
Thank you.
She's always talking about how she loves her team and how she looks after them. So you well deserve to win this award if you do.
And I hope so. Look,
for you.
And I've got a lot of loyal staff. Like one of my girls is, she's been with me for over 10 years, and so I've just it's a long history of relationships with the girls. Lots of new girls too, new talent, always emerging talent coming through. But I really don't think that we should call it a salon family. I've really changed my viewpoint on that terminology as the years have gone on. After consulting with a psychologist when I wrote a course recently this year, she sort of said to me that ethos is a little bit antiquated now, because the way that this generation think now, it kind of implies that they don't have a choice, whether they want to be in that family narrative, which was a different viewpoint. So we're very much a team.
Yeah.
The way that we run our salon, is very much a team, and that's how we phrase it in our salon.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah. And probably, rightly so. That we we think that a family is that inclusive wording to that, but it can mean something completely different to somebody else, can't it?
I think in the space that we're evolving into in hairdressing now, we do have to be very mindful of, for some people, family isn't necessarily a positive space. So, it was really interesting consulting with this psychologist and speaking to her. The phrasing and the terminology is so different from one generation to the next.
Yeah, it is. Interesting, because even I just know Grace has spoken to, that's my daughter, who's runs a salon and has quite a few staff, and even just speaking to a business coach about how the juniors in the salon really are they need a lot more nurturing, as we do know, but for a lot longer period of time than what we did.
Yes.
I think we were off and our wings were spread and gone, by the age of 16, 17, 18, whereas these guys are still quite, they need that nurturing for a lot longer.
Absolutely. I did a private education class in Sydney yesterday. I just got back last night, and very interesting. A lovely, lovely group of girls. I've gone to see them now for the second time in a matter of months. And what's really clear to me is that this new emerging crew, they really want the ABCs of everything they're so used to. And now I press this button and I get this, and now I press that button and that works. That they're trying to make hairstyling, in particular, the course that I teach is cutting. They're trying to make it an ABC, and it was really interesting in my class with them yesterday when I handed them a really short pixie haircut to do after a live demo model.
Yeah.
And they said to me, "Oh, what am I doing now?" And I said, "Oh, well, you're going to cut now." And they're like, "But what do we do?" And I said, "You use your scissors."
Yeah.
And you got to feel it, and you got to touch it, and you've got to make it yours, and it's got to be, something that you use with your hands. We never got taught to do those haircuts. Those haircuts came out of, experience and practice, and I was so proud of them. They all got in there, and they were all absolutely like in awe of their final product, because they did not think that they had that skill set within them.
It's actually quite. It's so with these apprentices or seniors or sort of merging into senior stylists, or
yes,
were they apprentice? Yeah,
they were all the way from a school-based apprentice, 15-year-old,
yeah,
right the way to a qualified hairdresser. But just a lot of stylists just getting into that sort of specific genre, or I'm a colorist, or I'm a long hair specialist, and we were having discussions with them in the salon yesterday, where we were just saying to them it's very limiting to choose just that one pathway. If you ever change, salons where the salon doesn't do hair extensions anymore, and you move to a salon that you need to specialise in a different craft, you don't want to leave yourself so boxed into one style.
absolutely. And it's interesting. I was just thinking, we've been working a lot on layering over the last term. And just last week and this week, I've been looking at the students thinking, they've just come a long way, and they're willing to have a go. Whereas, start of the term, no, will you help me, Helen? Will you, and now they're kind of like they're attacking, I shouldn't say attacking, but they're approaching the task with just a lot more confidence and a lot more, because they know, they know the outcome that they're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think for a long time we've had solid.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Well, they're all doing that. They have to, even their blow drying skills, they've had to learn how to do a round brush like in blow dry. I mean, that's the signature Helen Dunn blow dry.
Love it. And the other thing too is I don't know whether I should go here or not, but we've got a bit of I actually gave in the training sector on the job training a go for a brief amount of time. But something you said there is something that I feel is one of the cons of on the job training, is that apprentice is not getting any awareness of anything else other than what's going on in that salon. So, they're coming to trade school and they're getting everything just blown right out, like every possibility, because they're seeing, other apprentices doing it one way or another way and then me coming at them going, that there's more to it than just that, or
correct.
They're just getting so many more variables when they actually go outside of their workplace to do their learning.
Yeah, they should. I think obviously Victorian model is so different to South Australian model in lots of ways, and obviously depending on what school you go to. But I mean, bottom line is, Ellen, the training package is the training package, and I often say this to employers when I speak to them. They always, or not always, but often they put the onus back on trade school. Like, trade school's only there to provide you what they're allowed to teach, which is the training package.
Yeah.
And if you then want more than just that fundamental training, I mean, the amazing salon owner whom I flew to Sydney for yesterday, I mean, she's booked me twice this year for in-salon privates for her staff, because she does want that executive style of training in her for her staff. That's one topic that, we discuss a lot, is, whose responsibility is the training? And the answer to that is it's the salon's responsibility. It's
definitely.
It's not the training institution's responsibility to produce your kind of, hairdresser for your salon.
Yeah. And also, it does seem like I fully understand over the course of, say, 3 years, it seems like my apprentice is out every week at trade school. To us, that time frame over a, 4-10-week term, or it's less than 10 weeks, 4 terms, is actually only 1 day a week. So potentially we're only getting 34 days a year.
Correct.
So that's just over 100 days of their whole 3-year qualification at trade school.
Correct.
To do 28 units. So it's not that long.
And if people actually were to, this year I travelled around Australia. I produced a course called Training the New School, and it was part of it, the Aspire Roadshow series for De Lorenzo.
Yeah.
And, the number of people that had apprentices that didn't even know what the training package was.
Yeah.
Don't know that the training package exists.
Yeah.
When you work out the number of hours that is required for those 28 units, including the electives, if or not there, there's no way that can be completed at the standard to which a competent, independently working senior hairdresser is going to, the hours, it's just not sufficient.
No.
The extra training that goes in, oftentimes people ask me, how many days do your staff train in the salon? And the answer shocks them because it's every single day.
That's right.
Every single day there's a training component in salon. And I've got, 9 girls, and that including my senior hairdressers, they still go to education.
That's amazing, Marcela.
Yes.
And that's the thing. I feel like, they're so, as we talked before about how they need, they're so, they need their hand held, that nurturing. The amount of times I'll get an apprentice saying, I'm not getting trained, or, it doesn't happen a lot, but it is still happening out there.
Yeah.
And then you've got the ones that, even like with the on the job, there was apprentices like that weren't getting trained, and like they're only seeing an assessor come out once every few weeks, and that onus was on that 3-hour visit. It's not long enough.
No. And I mean, look, the reality is that, especially for you guys there in Victoria, post-pandemic life, a lot of employers, myself included, have had to go back on the salon floor to do, it's just been a lot of cleaning up for a lot of people, like cleaning up in all sorts of ways. I mean, from an economical standpoint, the luxuries we were affording ourselves in our businesses, we've had to keep a very, very close eye on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Then skills shortage, another issue.
Just going to say that.
Yeah.
That's right. And to inspire new people.
And also, kids straight out of school, the difference is that, the promotion isn't there for trade sector, especially with females. I mean, I've got a 16-year-old son who went in to do his year 11 subject selections. I mean, the amount of young lads choosing, male-dominated trade was humongous.
Yeah.
Probably a higher percentage than those choosing university education.
Yeah.
So it's really up to our industry to change the narrative about what our careers can offer, people, and hope that inspires more people to come into the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And, which is the purpose of even, me doing, like I spoke to you before about these interviews, to actually inspire that it's not just, there's a huge opportunity for, like a huge career path if that's what, if that's what you'd like to see. And the fortunate thing about our industry now is it's unlike probably, 20 years ago, you can make a little bit more money in it too.
Of course.
Yeah, like it's you can make a lot of money. It's not you come in at a the standard, what do they call it, minimum wage.
Minimum wage base, right? Yeah.
But if you position yourself well, you train well, like you said, you get that, all of that.
You definitely can. You definitely can. I mean, a lot of people I know in this industry have, magnificent lives. They live, the saying in our industry has always been, you work hard to play hard.
Yeah, and we do.
Yes, we do.
And we can talk about this we could probably talk about this for another hour, but there's so much more that I want to talk to you about. So what have you been up to? Like, what have you been up to with our industry? What's going on?
So much. Well, I'm the co-president of the South Australian Hair and Beauty Association here in Adelaide. It's called SABA. I've had the great pleasure of taking over the presidency just under a year ago now with the most amazing, beautiful human. Her name is Meryl Grattan. Meryl ran TAFE Hair and Beauty Department in South Australia in Adelaide CBD for, I think if I'm not mistaken, almost 20 years. Meryl has got the most extensive knowledge in hairdressing, unlike any human I've ever met in my life. We're the dynamic duo. She knows all the, the legislative, educational side. She's got wonderful relationships with government and government organisations. And then, of course, I am very much connected to all the people in industry, industry in general.
Yeah.
So I'm actually in the middle of what I call my adult apprenticeship with Meryl, because she's teaching me the ways. We have a very important announcement to make, which is so exciting, and we're going to make it tonight with you here.
Thank you.
So this SA Hair and Beauty Association has been awarded one of very few skills shortage grants. Oh. So Meryl wrote a very extensive grant submission on behalf of the South Australian hair industry, which we were very, very fortunately very lucky to win.
That is
just huge.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I mean, there's lots of interest in, sort of energy and environmental wellness, agricultural industries, but it's been a long time since our industry's won something like that.
Congratulations, because
thank you.
That would have. How long did that take to put that submission together?
It took Meryl a long time. I mean, Meryl's like the most amazingly intelligent, talented, knowledgeable woman. So thankfully, with all of her vast experience, she was able to put it together. But yeah, absolutely something that she should get praise for, because, that was just a massive job. We have applied for grants in the past, and not to anyone's fault, but we haven't been successful before. So it was so awesome to get this one.
Fabulous. That means so much.
It's really good. So the focus of the grant for us is, keeping people in industry.
Yeah.
And also the retention and the return of people to industry.
Okay.
So would you like me to share with you what those two amazing projects are going to be?
So good. So is that just, before you do, is that just South Australian focused, or is that going to be?
At the moment it is South Australian focused. But
that can roll out.
It could. We're going to do our very best to get results.
Yeah.
So that we can obviously start promoting this nationally.
Yeah.
It's like any sort of, legislation. Someone starts to set a precedent, and then obviously naturally it should, hopefully catch the attention of others in industry and government sector. A lot of the things that I've been learning about in this space, which is very different to obviously hairdressing space, is all of the laws and all of the projects are based on two tiers. There's state and national tiers. So what is allowed in one state may not be the mirror image to another state. And the same thing when it comes to state and then obviously federal or national law. Yeah. So it's been a real awesome learning curve for me. I've been able to better understand, I always say, but why can't we do that?
Yes.
But why?
Yes. It is a
So
typical
now I've got a
question.
better understanding.
Yeah.
We've got all these great ideas, Helen, but then we actually have to get through the avenues to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what can you share?
All right. So there's three components to the grant. One of them is an amazing careers guide. So we're going to be able to develop a careers guide. Here in South Australia, the Tourism Commission was successful in a grant, and they rolled out a really amazing careers guide, which, obviously is going to go around to all the stakeholders, schools, RTOs, broader community, to really promote what our industry is all about. Very much what we were speaking about before. There's so much to our industry than just, learning how to do a haircut. So that's one component, which is going to be really awesome for us. Hoping to obviously roll that out in career expos and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The second really exciting project is and this one here is for retention.
Yeah.
And for re-immersion into industry. So it's a precision cutting course.
Yeah.
It's going to be, imagine an upskilling course. That one's going to be, we've partnered with Clip Joint Academy in South Australia, which has been a very, very successful and long-running salon and RTO business here. Very, very amazing partners, always big supporters of the association.
Yep.
So they've designed a cutting course, which is the equivalent of some units of the Cert 4 in hairdressing.
Yeah, good.
So once your apprentice, your hairdresser reaches Cert 3, what do you have to offer them? Or what would happen if someone during the pandemic went to work from home and they wanted to regain industry skill and relationships, didn't quite know where to start? That course is going to be fantastic, because they can, do one day a week, get those units finished, increase their qualification, be attractive to return into industry again, upskill themselves to new and obviously more modern techniques in that precision cutting. And then also in terms of having a newly qualified hairdresser and as a salon owner, having the opportunity to offer them something for ongoing education. Yeah,
that's fabulous.
So that's one. That's the second part. Now the third part is really exciting again. And we partnered with the French Beauty Academy. Have you heard of the French Beauty Academy?
Keep going. I don't know.
So the French Beauty Academy actually started in Brisbane, and the French Beauty Academy is actually owned by the French family.
Right.
So that's why it's called the French Beauty Academy. They opened a campus in South Australia a little while ago, and they've just grown and they've blossomed. This week they had their new expressions of interest for enrolment for next year, where they had over 400 students come for the open day.
Fantastic.
They teach, all things beauty. They've been so beautiful to us in this transition to the new presidency. Meryl does work there, and they've been so generous to open up their offices to us. So we've had a place to work out of and meet and greet all the people we've been dealing with for all the government stuff, which has been awesome.
Yep.
And because we are the South Australian Hair and Beauty Association, we do not only just cover hair issues, we also work with the beauty industry. So anything that falls under our training package in South Australia, our association covers. So that's, the skincare. I always get this bit wrong. The dermal and skincare people, the tattooing, eyebrow tattooists, all the eyelash technicians, of course, nail technicians, the makeup artists, they all fall under our banner, as do barbers as well.
Yes.
So this course that we're going to be delivering through the French is actually units of the salon management course, so Cert 5 in salon management.
Oh, great. So that's the diploma of salon management?
It's no, it's not certified. It is salon management certified. Yeah,
because I believe we used to call it the diploma.
I don't think it's the diploma in South Australia. Here's where, this is again another example of where it differs from state to state. So what it is it's the units again that go towards that certificate, and it's a fully subsidised course. We're going to have a position for 40 people to go through this fully subsidised salon management units of the salon management. So again, where that's going to be really handy, and that one there is going to be open to hairdressers and barbers.
Yeah, so fantastic.
Where anyone who's already completed their Cert 3 in hairdressing or barbering will be able to go through and do the units in salon management. Again, fantastic. An incentive to retain staff. Again, an incentive to upskill. Again, an incentive to immerse people in the industry and keep those industry connections, which are so important. So you heard it here first, Miss Helen.
Thank you. That is I'm really, really excited for you, because it's just, we need as much support as we can possibly get from government and, from anywhere, local government, state government, federal, we need that support, because, you and I know how good our industry is once once you're qualified and you've sort of, you've got your wings.
Yes.
You can take you anywhere, but it's just getting that that inspiration and that excitement back, from.
And a lot of the funding and assistance that we've received, in the association in the last, few months, because there was a stage there where, as business people, you start to get a little bit concerned, especially post-pandemic life. And, you wouldn't believe it. Oh, you would. But the conversations happened in my very salon.
Yeah.
Behind the chair.
Yes.
And Meryl says to me, how do you know all these people? And I'm like, I cut the local mayor's hair who invites me to local events. I attend those local events.
Yeah.
And at those local events, you've got your local MPs. Then your local MPs start inviting you to their events, where then you meet, your state MPs. And then, Thursday. On Thursday, I'm having a meeting with the Minister of Multicultural Affairs here in South Australia, because as we know, people are working with and without the correct, qualifications. And the idea for us is to have a meeting with her to see if she will fund and potentially give scholarships to the people that we're doing in the precision cutting course, so that they can get some upskilling and get them through the process of, what we think, people should be doing, and again, to help and support us steer people in the right direction of, the way that we should be doing things, here.
Definitely.
And, I do her hair every Monday night. So, these are conversations that happen in the salon chair, at the salon, and I'm sure lots of hairdressers in all over Australia would attend to someone's hair that could potentially, help influence our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, we do, we have that, we've got huge connections like that. And it's about actioning them as well. And this is what, you're not just having the conversation, but you're out there, you're attending the functions, you're mixing with the people that actually can make things happen for us. And that's that's just such a blessing for our industry to have somebody like you that's out there actually actioning, not just, It
is time consuming, but, at the end of the day, not going back to the big C word, but, we can all remember that occasion where we were told, that's how long you're going to have to do that haircut, and, the uproar of our entire industry. Who the hell do you think, you are telling us how long it's you never know. And I think that's the key take home for me is ultimately I would like there to be consultation with industry.
Yeah.
I don't think that our industry should be, considered any less than any other industry, because we're a hairdresser or because we're a beauty therapist or because we're a barber. It doesn't mean that we're any less worthy. I mean, if we really analyse the multi-million-dollar intake that our industry gives, the world, let's be honest, we're one of the most lucrative industries in Australia. So we most definitely should have a voice and be heard when it comes to, our industry matters.
That definitely. And, just I often think take hairdressing out of the sector.
Yes.
And you've actually got a huge social gap.
Oh, yeah.
If you took our industry out of the sector, a huge social, gap, because where do people go? Where do people go for, for, like I was going to say, cheap, it's not really, but, for nurturing, for, for connection, for touch, for all of that with another human, another person.
Yeah.
We are we play such an important role in society's well-being.
Absolutely.
That the more and more and more I think about it, the more I realise that yes, we should never be taken lightly, but we so underestimate our position and our importance in community.
I think that's historical as well, Helen, because, when I told my mum I was, not going to do university because I was going to be a hairdresser, as a migrant child, first thing she said to me was, I didn't bring you all the way to Australia just to be a hairdresser, just to turn out. Like, like in Latin America, we call it like the barrio, the neighbourhood hairdresser, And I said to her, I'll show you. I'll show you what a hairdresser can, really end up accomplishing. And, I did. I won a pretty nifty award one year, and I won what's it called, an Australian Citizen of a local Citizen of the Year award, but it's still an Australian Day award recipient.
Yep.
And I said to her, here you go. I said, here's your Australia. I said, here's what your Australian hairdresser gave you, an award like this. Who else's university graduate child migrant has given you one of these? It was so. I shouldn't say it like
Your
that.
poor mum. She's so proud of you now, though, isn't she? Like, look at her. She would be like.
She loves it. I tell her all the time, because I tell this when I do public speaking. She's always my date, and she comes along with me, and she sits in the front row. And whenever I tell the story, she just shakes her head at me like, "You're making it seem so bad." But it's to prove a point, right? It's to prove that, don't underestimate, like the gift is in our hands.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing, we need more, we do need more of a voice and more recognition when it comes to the quality of a career that our industry is, that hairdressing is.
But you know what, Helen, I think a lot of people in our industry, especially now, these last couple of years have been, super tough. I think a lot of people do like to talk a lot about the problems that are going on. And I mean, it's good. We've got that, community banter, but it can't just be left to, a handful of people to be doing the advocacy for the industry, because I often have people say to me, but what do I get? What do I get for being a member of the association? What do I get? Right? And it's like, well, if we actually had the time to document the amount of work that we do. Meryl and I worked a 12-hour shift last Wednesday. We had back-to-back meetings from 9 o'clock in the morning until we finished our board meeting at 9 o'clock at night. We don't have time to do a reel to really go through and show exactly what we're doing. But in terms of your value exchange is that you're having people connect your industry and safeguard the future of your businesses
Yeah.
in this current world and economy.
Yeah.
There's not very many people going out there doing this kind of work in our
Definitely
industry.
not.
So,
And definitely and actually like being aware, having the awareness of what's going on, you know, in industry, in business, where government's taking us, what funding there is available for, you know, for what numbers, like you said, what numbers are, how many people we bring into the industry, how many people are exiting the industry, how many people we can reintroduce.
I mean, the number one topic that people currently talk to me about in relation to our career is, you know, the training package is so outdated. We know this, right?
Oh.
And the training package actually in South Australia hasn't been altered since 2016.
Yeah, same. Well, we have a national training package.
Right? So when we think about how much fashion and trends have changed in that time, naturally the training package is outdated. But there are members of our hairdressing industry sitting on skills councils, and there is a very big change that's going to happen. But when these organizations and, you know, talk to us, they want to know how many people are you talking on the behalf of?
Oh.
And if our industry don't get behind us and become members of our associations, then they look at us and think, well, how do we know that you're talking on behalf of everybody?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, we need to be taken seriously. And, you know, I definitely have to say that we've had a very, very, very good, reception from the people that we're talking to. Skills SA, which used to be the Training and Skills Commission here, amazing to work with. We had an amazing meeting with them very recently, and the gentleman that we worked with and workshopped with for the entire day, let me tell you, we had a huge meeting. What a pleasure of a human. Had to listened, you know, took note of everything I had to say from someone working in a salon environment.
Yeah.
He didn't just, knock me down or say, that's not relevant in this situation, because, it wasn't corporate versus trade. They're very much there to listen. But again, it's, we don't have the time to share with everyone how much is going on behind the scenes, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. And once you dip your toe in it, you find how much more there is to do when you do, you start.
I know. We say we start like a new project every week.
Yeah, well, you would though, because it'd be like, it's a rabbit hole, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So, we all teach the national training package. But from what I'm aware of, South Australia always, are you still registered there? Are you still have a registration board?
We don't have a registration board, but we have active registration legislation.
Yes.
So there has been attempts to sort of get that recognition, we should call, back into action. Look, government is very well aware of things that are happening. It's just that we, again, need to be the voice to find a solution.
Yeah.
Right, in that matter.
Yeah.
I can't speak too much on that because there's something else in the works, but there is consultation being made.
Yeah.
Which for me, in terms of how many years I've been on the board for these, kind of programs and initiatives, I feel like definitely we've definitely come and gotten further in that process than we have for a really long time.
Yeah.
Not to get political, but this particular government at the moment has really opened their ears to that area for our industry.
Yeah.
I'm really, really certain that there's going to be lots of positive changes in that sector.
That's
definitely
good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So what about, like, do you get, Well, I was going to say, do you even need any help from the the Australian Hairdressing Council or anything like that, or do you consult with them?
Most definitely, not just Australian Hairdressing Council, but other, hair and beauty industry groups.
Yeah.
There's so many other boards and consultation groups that multiple members of multiple associations around Australia sit on.
Yeah.
So Merrill sits on a council that, like other industry bodies also sit on. So the again, like I was saying to you earlier, the legislation changes based on state to state at the moment. Our act is different to the act in New South Wales. It's different to your act there in Victoria. And I mean, Perth still has the IHS. They're still running the IHS over there. So every state has different needs, like based on their stats. Like, as a national issue, I feel like, the skills shortage is definitely, the biggest topic. But if I could be so rude and blunt to hairdressers out there, so's the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not just hairdressers that have a skills shortage. I was speaking to one of my clients earlier this week. He's a psychiatrist, medical psychiatrist, and he was having his hair cut and he had to attend the phone for a patient in the hospital that he had to check in over the phone because there's a shortage of psychiatrists.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So again, I think that we need to find solutions, and that's where these skills grants that we've been awarded, we've got position for 12 people in the precision haircutting course. And like I said, we've got a position for 40 people in the salon management course.
Yeah, that's so good.
We need good outcomes from those courses, and we need people to, finish it and not just, decide to do half of it. We want quality candidates because these are the sorts of projects that will then get the attention of state governments, national governments. These courses, I'm going to have the pleasure of reporting the outcomes of both of those projects to the Skills SA, to the Skills Commission.
Yeah.
Just to also explain to people, when you get one of those grants, you're really supported in the process. This week just gone, I had a meeting with my mentors. So I report back to them and I let them know the progress of the project, what's happening. If there's any areas of concern, they're always available to speak to us, to give us help and encouragement, to help us make those projects successful. So it is a team effort. And again, I do have to give credit where credit's due. Here in SA, we've had really, really good luck with our local government helping us a lot.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure whether you guys would have a program like this, but over here in Victoria, we've got a program called NICE, which is, I don't actually know exactly what it stands for, but it's a program that you can do and enroll in. Pretty much anyone can do it. And it's like linked to business, but it also supports you financially if you want to set up for the first year, set up a business.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So what I was just thinking with that salon management, would there be a NICE program like what we have here that they could link that to, that if they were to go into business and open up their own business?
Yeah, well, you'll have to send me the link so I can have a looky.
Yeah, I will.
See what it's about.
Yeah. I should, because we've had it for years. It's been it's been a long-term project that's a program that's been running for a long time.
It could be something in the equivalent,
Yeah, but anyone who's got a business idea, can actually participate in it. Awesome. So I'm not sure whether it is just state or federal. So
yes,
but that would be a great
lever,
to kind of lead them into another pathway into that,
Yes.
being able to use that skill that they've learnt.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, the greatest hairdressers in this industry have evolved from, a Cert 3 to a diploma, into a degree, into a bachelor's, into a PhD, and the possibility is ongoing. It's endless.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If they take that lifelong learning into heart and really, run with it, they can take it anywhere.
100%.
So that's fantastic. I don't want to run out of time because, but there's another little facet. What do you say? Yeah, another little personality of yours. Not little, huge personality of yours.
Work out which hat I'm wearing every day. I'm going to figure out what I'm doing.
Which is your philanthropic hat.
Yes.
Did I say that right? Anyway.
Nah, it's philanthropic. You added an extra syllable, but I don't know how you got an extra one in, but it's talent.
Okay. I'll let you say that now. That word that starts with PH.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I was telling you earlier that tomorrow I'm going into the Royal Adelaide Hospital, which is like your Prince Alfred Hospital. Is that what you've got?
Yeah.
No, you're not Prince Alfred. That's New South Wales.
No.
What's your main hospital?
We've got an Alfred. We've got the Royal Melbourne.
Royal Melbourne. So,
but I'm from out of Melbourne, so
that's right.
So we've got Bowen Health down here.
Yeah. Well, we've only got in the CBD, we've got one main public hospital. So anyway, a long story short, a few years ago, I've been doing haircuts in, sort of domestic violence shelters, homeless shelters, men's shelters, for a long time. But I got a request to go into the Royal Adelaide Hospital to do a haircut of he was the longest serving patient in the history of the hospital in ICU.
Wow.
He was in ICU for 8 months. Craziness, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, his name was, I'll name him because I'm allowed to, because his family always allow me to. His name was, I'm going to have a cry. Mr. Mortimer, I'll call him. And anyway, I got really close to him. I loved him very much because I spent a lot of time with him in the hospital. And ever since then, I've been going into specifically mostly the spinal ward in the hospital. So you can imagine that people have, long-term recovery in the spinal ward.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I've got 4 patients that I'm going to see. Actually, I haven't had 4 patients in one day for a long time. So it's going to keep me there for a couple of hours. So essentially what I do is I go in and provide free haircuts in the hospital.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I love it. It's people in there are a little, a lot hopeless. They're stuck in 4 walls, and some of them don't even have access to looking out of a window because they can't get out of their bed.
Oh.
So coming in and seeing them there, like my Mr. Paul Mortimer, my very special patient, towards the end of our time together, I was I even coloured his hair in the hospital. I got permission to colour his hair. Yeah. I highlighted his hair. He was completely paralysed from the neck down.
Yeah.
We made access to the bed in a special way so I could foil his hair. It was crazy.
Did you put a post up? I think I saw something like that. I'm like, how did she do that?
It was crazy. I was we put a plastic sheet tucked in under the bed. Then they tilt the bed up.
Yeah.
I make a funnel with the plastic sheet into a bucket. So I pour water over their hair.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I end up with wet feet. It's out of control. I feel like I pee my pants half the time, but it's so awesome. And
it's so good.
Yeah, so tomorrow I've got patients in trauma. So that's usually people who have, had car accidents.
Oh, yeah.
I do patients in, I do lots of recovery wards. So I do people who have had strokes, people who have had because a lot of people have chemotherapy, but they don't lose their hair, which is something I've learned. So cancer patients, but, outside of the haircut experience, it's really just because, I'm up naturally, as you can tell, got lots of energy.
Yeah.
So it's good energy. We have a chat. I've seen the humans in the most vulnerable state that you could possibly ever imagine a human to be in. I've seen in there.
Yeah.
And for me as a person, it's just very perspective giving. So, with all the hoo-ha of, the events and the awards and the, meetings and the, all of that, like you do, I feel like for myself anyway, I need something to just bring me back down and to ground me and just to remind me of, what normal humanity is outside of all, like I call it the hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Outside of the hoo-ha. And also to give, many thanks to all the blessings that I receive in my life. Like that's, also, I'm very Catholic, I guess, South American Catholic, and that's one, thing that you always have to give to say thank you for what you receive.
It's gratitude. Beautiful.
Gratitude. So, I don't think I'm ever going to stop doing that. I don't do the men's shelters anymore. I don't really do the domestic violence shelters anymore because a lot of other people have started going into that space, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't go into that space anymore. I run an annual event with it's called the Junction Community Centre, where we do one whole day of hair cutting.
Yeah.
So we do that every year, and I also host an Indigenous group of women in my salon every year where we do it's a give to receive project. So what they do is they give my emerging stylists the opportunity to do their hair from start to finish.
Oh, yeah.
So consultation, colour application, cut and blow dry. So the juniors get a chance to mark lots of things off their catalogue.
Yeah.
But also, they run the whole event. So the girls are in charge of getting sponsorship for the colours through the hair care companies for that day. The girls are responsible for the organisations and booking of the clients for that day. They're in charge of refreshments and hospitality with the clients for that day. And all the social media and everything that happens. So the girls learn how to event plan.
That's great.
Like that. And then the Indigenous, they're called the grannies. They're like the hierarchy of Indigenous women in their local area for their mob.
Yeah.
They're very, very respected in their community, those women. And so we've been running that for a few years now.
That is such a good idea. And how you do that is so good because that does, sorry to interrupt, but
no,
my teacher brain's going, like you said, and that covers that unit, the planned services for special events.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Such a great, and
so
like
the girls
you said,
use that project for that particular unit.
Yeah. It's so good. Yeah.
So, again, lots of connection to local community. What it goes back to every single time in all the things that I do is that it's not just a connection inside the salon, it's a connection outside the salon all the time.
Yeah. So good. Like, yeah, it's and it is like this is where I'm coming from with our, with just how important our industry is. And when you become a hairdresser, and one that stays in the industry for a long time, it's not a job anymore. It's it's a love job.
Yes. Yes.
And you have to. There has to be more to it for you to stay in it for that long, and it is about giving and seeing people happy and making people feel good and getting that. That's what for me. I know I'm speaking for myself here, but that's what makes me feel good. So it is a little bit selfish, but at the same time, you're making somebody else feel good, so you feel good. Like
absolutely, 100%. Like I either walk out of the hospital in an absolute shambles. I'm either bawling my eyes out,
Yeah.
or I'm like on top of the world, you know, coming home telling my young lads, you know, awesome stories and stuff, whatever. But yeah, like it's
Yeah.
very moving, and if anyone has, you know, the heart to go into to do it, like you just rock up, just go into the hospital and say, this is who I am, and I want to offer these services. Like, they're not going to knock you back. I'm on the volunteer register at the hospital, and you know, like I said, today was a hotline. Today I had 4 phone calls about haircuts tomorrow. So yeah, so in I go.
That's fantastic. Wow. That is, yeah. Like your cup is overflowing.
I know. I often do get asked, you know, like, do you ever have a day off? And I think you and I, we've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
But that is my day off tomorrow, and
Yeah.
you know, I get heaps of rest. I'm just like a very organized person. Like today, I got home and like that work-life balance thing. I've cooked for the kids for tomorrow. I've already made all their lunches. I've left everything ready. Like I'm not really designed for sitting on the couch. Like
No,
I don't know what that feels like. Like I feel like it's a waste of living an experience, you
it
know?
is. Yeah. And like I said before, I feel like, you know, retirement. Well, not that we're at that age, we're not, but it's for people who don't like their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. But how many times have over the years, you know, I've had clients, you know, they retire and then unfortunately they become unwell, and then
Yes.
or they don't make it much past their retirement. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I hope that never happens to anyone, but
No.
nevertheless, like I've just learned to live life to the max.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
just, you know, I think, you know, again, it comes from, you know, like hairdressing is, like we were saying before, like once you're qualified and, you know, it becomes, the job gets easier. Like
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
it's hard, but on the whole, but it's one of those like it's you work as a team, but at the same time it can be a very autonomous thing. You can make it your own. So because of
Absolutely.
that, you just you know, yeah, you can take it in any direction. But I think when you've got that kind of excitement about what you do, you're just always looking for something else.
Oh yeah, I've always just stumbled across the next thing. Like I've never sort of premeditated the direction that my career has gone in. It's been very organic.
Yeah.
I have just, you know, I always say just go with the flow, whatever, wherever the wind's, you know, pushing me. I've gone from, you know, owning a salon to then, you know, becoming an educator. I've travelled all over Australia teaching for De Lorenzo education for the last 4 years. This year I did a road show. I wrote it with a psychologist, which was like another
Oh
weird and wonderful
yes.
thing because I met her through doing the Miss Universe salon partnership for De Lorenzo. Like just all this rando, like it's
Yeah.
just rando, Helen.
Yeah. Well,
Then
the
girls I
universe is
met,
like, let's go. There's Marcella. Let's get her. Let's
yeah, let's just go.
let's get her. We know we can make this happen.
You know, but that's how I've done everything I've done.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even through hairdressing, I've met, you know, my best friend of life, like, you know, in another whom you know, my beautiful friend Jo Clark, who
Yeah.
she also works in the hair industry,
Yeah.
and she's a rep for in Victoria for De Lorenzo, and you know, we both met in a rando hair experience on the
Yeah.
whole other side of the world. And I would never have met her had we not taken the chance to do something completely random, like, you know, just giving it a go.
Yeah.
And we were talking before, like, you know, through those experiences, like we met, and then great connections with beautiful Pete from Excellent Edges, like lifelong relationships, and Lisa Polini from Perth. You know, just amazing relationships. And I feel like some of the stuff I've done in my career, I mean, a lot of the stuff I've done in my career has been through the support of those relationships and people who have helped us along we don't even live in the same state.
Yeah.
you know, but we all encourage, and it's that sense of community.
Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, the course you wrote, have we got
Yeah.
time to talk about that?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So with all my cutting classes that I was doing around Australia,
Yeah.
people were so interested in talking to me about my salon and how I, you know, how I had so many staff, and you know, because at that time I think it wasn't very popular for people to take on apprentices. It was, you know, a couple of years ago people were still very conservative. I would have to say in the last 12 months, it's when we've really seen a huge surge in people really putting on apprentices. I mean, you would see that through the school, Helen, and how many, you know, there's heaps, the classes are filling now compared to what they were.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the biggest mistake that I saw employers making in that time was their approach to training young people, not just when we talk about, you know, execution of training package. I'm talking just about the general way that people are and speak to, you know, young talent in today's day and age. I think a lot of the things I learned from all of that comes actually from my own kids, because when I would, you know, have conversations with them about, you know, I'll give you an example. Back in my day, and my kids like, Mum,
I
you know
love
how
saying
out
that.
of touch it is to say that? As soon as you say that, you're going to lose people straight away. You know, so just simple things like that, Helen. So the course is called Training the New School. And it's a course that's a holistic approach to training apprentices in 2023 when I wrote it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I go through and I discuss all the do's, all the don'ts. You know, what do you need to know? First of all, before you even choose an apprentice, what are the sorts of things you should be looking at? And one of the things people do now, which is the biggest mistake of all time, is I need someone to help me,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
definitely. And they
You should
don't,
never hire someone for help.
no, and they don't, you know, like one thing, I know I'm just interrupting here, but,
No.
you know, like, and I'm talking about my daughter, but Grace, you know, and I'm like extremely proud of her because she's my daughter, but she always identifies what she wants in a staff member. Like she like really sort of like has it in her mind what type of person she wants to call in.
Yes.
And that's like she knows when that person walks in the door whether that's the person that she wants or not.
Correct.
It's an
A
interesting.
lot of the time, people are looking for an apprentice with like that band-aid approach, like, oh, she can answer the phone, or she can, you know, sweep hair, or she or he can, you know, put a toner on for me, right?
Yes.
And that's not what we're looking for apprentices for. If you're putting on an apprentice, it's to train them.
Yeah.
And it is to liberate you of the amount of clientele that you're servicing. But first and foremost, it's to train them. It's not to have someone there to help you. And I think that's two very, you know, different approaches to why. And then when people say to me, my apprentice didn't work because she wouldn't do this and she wouldn't do that. No, your apprentice didn't work for you because you weren't providing them the training that they were looking for. And they just went and got it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And again, like I was saying to you before, you know, people don't understand. I actually printed the training package and I isolated only the hairdressing modules.
Yeah.
And as you know, Helen, that's still two, you know, fat books, that fat. And I traveled around with them in printed version to show people this is the holy Bible of what you're trying to get this person through. It's not to get you through being able to go on holidays so that you can go visit your best friend in Western Australia. It's not. And it is your responsibility to do this. And just a step-by-step on actually how do you get an apprentice? Who are you looking for? How do you select the right candidate?
Yeah.
Where do you begin?
Yeah.
How do you establish, I establish timelines and trackers, and I copy those with the units from the training package so that they align to the sequential order that they're being done at trade school.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people will start an apprentice on, short hair ladies' haircuts when actually at trade school they're starting with OH&S.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people are like, all the way confused about how it works. And again, a lot of salon owners that are now hiring apprentices, some of those employers themselves were institutional learners. So they themselves never went through an apprentice.
No, so they're the ones that actually think that all the training's done at school too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that's the pathway they went on,
Yes.
So it's just, that course was really good. I think it either made people want to have an apprentice or it didn't.
Yeah.
It really identified what the areas were. I am now writing the second edition of training the new school, which is now, once that apprentice is finished, how a newly qualified hairdresser should be managed in a salon.
Yeah.
And then from there I'll add on like what a senior hairdresser expectation looks like.
That's good. So good.
Yeah.
Because I would say to an employer as an educator is like, you don't have time really. Like people think you've got 3 years and it's a long time, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I say to them, you need to get them on the floor doing everything in their first year. Second year is like growing and confident and consolidating and really honing in on their skills. And third year is growing their client base, so that by the time they're qualified, you've got a senior that can stand on their own 2 feet. But and
now we're going into the school-based apprenticeship space as well, Helen. So when people say, I don't think I can do it in that space of time. Well, start them younger, get them in as a tea and tidy, and then evolve them into. I've got one girl who I started like that, and now she's a school-based apprentice. So realistically, she is at a second, almost second year standard, highlighting. She's confidently styling. She's confidently doing root touch up all over colour. So realistically, now I'm up to solid form with her.
That's good.
And she's in her first year.
So she's a school-based?
Yeah, she's school-based, yeah.
So what year, 11 or 12?
She's in year 10 actually. Oh. So she does 1 day a week at trade school, and then she does 2 days with me in the salon. But one of those is a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
So we maximise our training time with her in the salon. And we've created emerging stylist specials in the salon. So a lot of our clientele in the community, they're very aware of those specials. So oftentimes, she'll be booked back to back with styling and, just basic colour work, but she's working on clients. She's not just sweeping up hair.
See, that's so good, because I find a lot of, any school-based apprentice I've had to really slow their schooling down so that they're not getting ahead of themselves. As you know, we have a competency-based training package as well.
Yes.
And that, which, when that came in, we didn't have any say over that. So, my concern as an educator is they want to learn. They want to come in and do as many units as they can. But as you know, like once they get through their OH&S and their maintain and all their fundamentals, then we're into the core of our industry's skill. And I don't want to be teaching them that if they're not going to do it on the floor.
Of course.
So, and I'll teach them. I will actually, get the scissors out and show them how to do a haircut, like behind the scenes, but I'm not going to open that unit up unless they're actually starting their employers are actually ready to let them start cutting. So, I'll lead them up to that and prepare them for it. But, it's kind of for some school-based, it's a very slow process to get them onto
Well, I
clients.
had a school-based girl yesterday at the course I was doing, and I was mind-blown. Like, she's 15, and she sent me photos of her blow-away finish from her. We did increased layered haircuts with her yesterday, and we did 7 elements of haircutting in one day with her.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Just super, super keen to learn. And again, we have to remember that the emerging industry that's coming through now has this glorious thing called the internet.
Yes. Yes.
And these girls, where you and I would go and buy the Women's Weekly to see, the catwalk looks from the Emmy Awards or the Oscars for inspiration. These kids have everything at their fingertips. So they're watching tutorials. As much as we're so resistant to that and we're like, oh, that's not quality learning. What are they learning from the internet? Well, actually, they spend hours and hours and hours watching Reels, TikToks, YouTube.
They do.
They're learning visually as well. So when they come into the salon, they've watched freaking, whoever it is, Michaela Nagoriega, whatever her name is, the bloody makeup girl that makes me buy makeup everywhere. They watched her put a set of eyelashes on 3,000 times.
Yeah.
So come time for them to put that set of eyelashes on, they've already watched it that many times that they feel like they've learnt it.
Yes.
And as educators with the fundamental experience that we have, we are closed-minded to receive that new wave of learning as something, sustainable for us in the future. It absolutely is. The companies that we partner with, they all have educational portals now where you can have your apprentices log in, and there's a catalogue of demonstrational videos, short little quiz courses where they can then, print off a certificate to say that they've completed that unit of learning within the company's. I mean, they thrive on that stuff.
Yeah.
They want it. Like, my girls have folders where they've got, all their little bits and bobs put in that they learn.
Yeah, it's great. And look, I'm not opposed to it. I suppose as an educator, I learn every day. My students teach me how to teach them.
Yeah.
And every day. And like even yesterday, I had one doing an above the shoulder bob, and she got here, and I'm saying, look, I would not, even though, a bob's meant to be cut at natural fall, I said, I would not hold the hair under the chin and cut it. I said, because you're going to end up with this shorter here than the back. I said, I tend to actually pull that back and cut it back here because it can hang a little longer.
Yes.
And it's exactly what, and I thought that if she hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have known to be aware of that now. Just all that sort of thing. And so I feel like, I love watching the videos, but I feel like sometimes they're for us because they're not necessarily, because I look and I think, yep, you're cutting how I cut. Like you're doing, you're doing that, you're pulling the hair in this direction. So I feel like I'm not, I must be teaching them something right.
and that's cool too, right? Like, I think it's awesome. Sometimes I think the way that we got taught to do certain things, I mean, especially in terms of long hair, all the prep work and, the foundation building that we used to do, they skip that whole bit now.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But in a practical salon, sense, I've got one girl in my salon who's an amazing long hair stylist. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And, she spends hours as well watching, Instagram influencers and hairdressing influencers. And sometimes I turn around and I think, oh, that client's asked her to do that. That's going to take her forever, thinking how we would have done it.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and she's finished.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell did she do that? And then I'll go over to her and I'm like, all right, so when we get a second, you got to break it down for me. How did you do that so quick?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, I
so
don't think
good.
we ever stop learning, even from the people that we
I
teach.
love it. But that's why I think that's why you love teaching, because you're learning and teaching is not much different.
No, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking we're actually just about to host World Skills in a
Oh yeah, that is coming up, isn't it?
yeah. So
Yes.
and I was demonstrating the long hairstyle today, which we're not meant to, I suppose, do, but I'm thinking I want to have a go at that and see if I can actually
Why not?
create that. But one of the students had curled the hair like with the tongs,
Mm-hmm,
and so it had like a bit of volume at the neck here,
mm-hmm.
and I went to tie it up, but it had
Loop.
that direction. I said you need to be aware of that. I said that's why
Yes,
prepping, because
it's
you
so
that hair's got
important.
to come down and up, not you
Not
know.
under. Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. So
it's so
yeah,
cool.
sometimes a bit of prep is important.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm. Anyway, well, we could talk for hours and hours, really.
We could.
And we might have to have a part two on this.
Yeah.
But to finish up, I'm just going to ask you some quirky questions. So,
Sure.
firstly, any advice for industry? Anything that comes to
Yeah,
mind?
naturally support people who are doing advocacy for your industry in whichever way that falls in your state. Um, Remember that we cannot be heard if we're not united.
Yes,
Mm.
definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. So important. Okay. And who does Miss Marcela Lastra's hair?
Oh my God, the number one question I get asked every time. So I call her the left-handed bandit.
Yeah.
And she works at the salon with me. Her name's Christy Falconer.
Oh,
She's been hairdressing for 29 years. She's amazing. Um, and yeah, she's the only person I let cut my hair.
that's fabulous. And your colour's beautiful too.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it? Nice and
So
rich. I
gorgeous.
was very blonde, and then I've loved this season how colours have come back, lots of
Yes.
rich yeah, bold
They
colours.
were never gone. Well,
I know.
I
I was
don't
going to say, Helen, you've never left. If you had
no.
any other hair, there'd be something seriously wrong, Helen.
Yeah. I did go
Yeah.
deep once, like a little bit deeper than yours, really dark.
Yes,
Yeah. I've done that a couple of times. But
I
anyway,
love this. This is
it's
nice.
beautiful. So, and any sort of like any memorable moments for you in in the industry?
I've got one, and she may or may not listen to this, but when I was growing up in the hairdressing industry, I always really looked up to Katerina Di Biaggi.
Yes.
And I had the pleasure of assisting her overseas in a hair show. I got asked to do it, and I was freaking out because number one, she was the person I used to go out and buy magazines for. Number two, I'm sitting there having dinner with her and Benny Tognini on the same table. So I was having another heart attack. I was
Yeah.
totally starstruck. And then Benny says, I'm walking into the room to watch her show and I'm, really excited. And then Benny says to me, so yeah, you're up. You're going to go, you're helping her. And I don't even know, I don't know what looks we're doing. I don't know like what I'm supposed to be doing. Anyway, long story short, she handed me a plastic needle, right?
Yeah.
Which she was sewing the hair looks. At the time, she had done this beautiful look with feathers.
Yeah.
And she'd taken all these feathers overseas for this big show. So it was my job to help her have the thread, the elastic, the hat elastic. And she said to me, whatever you do, you mustn't drop this needle.
Oh.
So I'm like this, and you wouldn't believe it. I dropped the needle. She's live on stage presenting in front of all these people, And out of the corner of my eye, just before I knew she was going to ask me for the needle,
No.
I've seen it and I've scooped it up. It had landed on the inside of the chair between the model and the leather, like the leather binding.
Yeah.
I found it, and she whispered, "Where's the needle?" And I went, "Here it is." So, lesson learnt. If you're going to get asked to assist, Australian Hairdresser of the Year on stage overseas, make sure you hold on to the needle.
Don't drop the needle.
Yeah, so that's one of my funny stories.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. If anyone wants to find out any more about what's going on with South Australian Hair and Beauty Association or anything like that, or even you, or get in contact with you or anything, can they do that?
The best way is, I've got my salon page is probably the easiest page for people to get in contact with me, Longko Salon, for anything to do with me. And then anything to do with the association, the association has an Instagram page, which, feel free to send us an inbox there. We're actually just about to relaunch our website. So we're in the middle of rebranding and rebuilding. The website should be going live any minute this week, hopefully. So soon that'll be available as well. Socials is easy, and someone's always attending to those. So we're happy to communicate through that as well.
Fabulous. That's so good.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I've loved every minute of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
We'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.